most of the people that we work with, that's what they say. They go, well, hang on, I started this business so I could be the master of my own destiny.
Yep.
So I could have some freedom. And now all I am is just enslaved to the business. Does that, dear listener, does that sound familiar to you? Is this resonating with you? You're going, yep, that's me.
If you want more time, money, freedom, and have a business that's not reliant on you, then you're in the right place. Each week, Mark Creedon, along with some of the very best business minds in the world, will take you through simple, practical steps you can take to create the business you always wanted. From his own practical experience, Mark will show you how to work less, make more, and get the business you always wanted, the one that you deserve. Now here's your host, one of Australia's most sought-after business coaches, Mark Creedon.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Mastermind for Business podcast. This is a podcast which is designed for business owners who feel like they're a little bit trapped and a bit of a slave to the business, and they've tried lots of things to get some freedom. And what we're about is getting you to the point where you can have 6 weeks more leave out of your business without having any effect on your bottom line. And as always, by pure magic, joining me in the chair is Nick.
Oh,
Magic.
gosh.
That's what we do.
Magical on a Monday. Magical Monday.
It's Magic Monday. Hey, mate, one of the things that we see a lot of when clients first come to us, and the reason they get to us is they've already got a successful business.
Yep.
They're making good coin, but they're spending so much time in their business. And in most cases, they don't mind that because it's why they got into business in the first place. Often their business is their passion anyway, and they've got people that rely on them. They've got clients, they've got their team, etc. So they don't mind that so much. But what they do mind is what it's depriving them of in their private life.
Sure, what they're missing out on.
Yeah. And I know this has been a big focus for you, and we'll talk about some of the rules that you've set in order to achieve a bit better balance with that. But what we find is that business owners come to us and they say things like, I miss out on my kids' sporting events.
Yep.
Or, dance recitals or school events. I forget important dates like wedding anniversaries.
Yes.
I work on the weekends when really, my business should be kind of a Monday to Friday type business.
Yep.
And I remember, Nick, when I was much younger, I'm going back 30 years, but I used to get up in the morning and I would drive to the office. I'd drive in super early. I'd get a bunch of stuff done. I'd then drive home and help with getting, breakfast and stuff like that. I'd then go back to the office. I'd then come home in the afternoon and help with bath time and that sort of stuff. And then once kids were in bed, I would then drive back to the office till midnight or whatever and work.
Yeah. But that's not sustainable, though, right?
Well, as I found out.
Yeah.
No wonder I put it out
pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, found out in the worst way, but I would guarantee you this, that there will be people listening to this podcast now, right now, who are in their own business who are going, yeah, that's me.
That's me.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to do. What I want to do today is just give people some really practical tips and ideas on how they can pull back on that, how they can actually get that little bit of balance back. And I think, I like to not use the term balance, because we talk about work-life balance, and what it suggests is that it's like a set of scales that's even. It's like the scales of justice, like it's 50-50.
Yeah. And it's just never the case, is it?
It's not. But if you can get into the point where there is harmony, in other words, where there isn't a conflict between what you need to do for your business and what you need to do at home.
So they're working together.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And once they're working together, there comes a certain element of understanding where you can go, well, work, my business understands that I need to spend this time at home. Home understands I need to spend this time at business.
Yeah. And I think, balance is one of those things where everyone's trying to find the balance, and that's why it's probably not the best way to look at things.
No.
Because it's impossible to find. Right?
Well, I think it is impossible because, as I said, balance suggests that you can just somehow cut things down the middle, like 50-50, and it just doesn't work that way.
No, it's not that simple, is it?
But I reckon there's some really practical tips. So let's talk about that, because what I really want to achieve today for our listeners is for them to be able to go, do you know what, that is something I can do. I can do that right now. And I reckon one of the first things you can do, so let's talk about, I'm not going to talk about how you stop home encroaching on business. Let's talk about how you stop business encroaching on home for now.
Sure.
And we'll look at the other way around another time. But I think one of the very first and very simple things you can do is you can set. Most of us work off phones, right? Whether it's whatever it is, a Samsung or a Google or an iPhone or whatever it might be. But what you can do, the great thing about those things is the negative aspect of a mobile phone is they give us access 24/7. The positive aspect of a mobile phone is that you can program them to do that the way you want it to.
Work in your favor.
Yeah, that's right. So, what I do is I turn my notifications off on the weekend.
Mm.
And I've got it set. I've got a time set. So come 6 o'clock Friday night, I turn my notifications off. I mean, I actually have my email notifications turned off on my phone permanently.
Yep.
But on the weekend, I have my calendar notifications. I have everything kind of turned off, except my text messages. So because I know that if it's family, they'll text me. If it's friends, they'll text me. If the office is burning down, someone's going to text me, right?
Yeah.
But clients aren't going to text me because they don't have my number, right?
Thank God.
So I'm not in that position, and so a very, very simple thing that you can do is turn your notifications off.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if most people have an Apple Watch. You can sort of manage all of that as well because it's all works under the same thing. So if you're trying to find, I guess, that way of managing it or reminding yourself, an Apple Watch is really good because it just gives you a little bzz and remember, so it knows when it's time. And also the thing that I think I've struggled with in the past when it comes to making time or trying to find time to spread across all the different aspects of my life. But I've noticed that when I do find the time for certain things, it may not necessarily be the quality of time that I was looking for.
No, it's a really good point, isn't it? Because there's present and there's presence, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what people sort of fall into that trap of going, oh, well, I whether it be your kids or whatever it is, I really want to spend more time on myself or I want to spend more time with the kids. Yeah. Then when you get there, you're not your best version of yourself. Yeah. And that's because you're not really there.
Yeah.
You haven't actually allocated the time or you haven't finished what you needed to finish to be able to be there and be present.
So that gets back to that balance thing, right? And like you and I have had this conversation as father and son over the years, but that's where there were times when I would want to be there, but I was trying to achieve a balance. So I was still emailing or whatever. And really, you're not really there, right?
No,
you're trying your best.
In physical presence, you're there, but you're not all there, are you? And you're right. You're trying your best. But I think one of the big things that's been really beneficial to me has been routine.
Yep.
Just in general across my life. So, sleep routine, doing the same sort of things every day. It helps, my productivity, which then helps me free up time. And, if I'm under the pump and I've got a million things to do in the day, and then I have a small moment to spend with Eloise or my kids or whatever it is that I'm doing, that small moment I need to be the best version of myself. So to do that, I need to get enough sleep. I need to be, drinking enough water. Whatever it is that you need to be the best version of yourself. Try and get into a routine so that you can upkeep that so that everything else just becomes a little bit easier.
So you tap into an important thing, I think, which is self-care, right? So in order to look after your team, look after your clients, look after your business, you really have to look after yourself first.
Yeah, 100%.
So the thing for me is, if I want to talk about how do you actually stop the stress on the weekend, and people go, okay, sure, I turn my notifications off, but I still know that shit's going on, right? And so I think that you've got to accept that turning your notifications off will have an effect. It may not have the effect.
No.
But it's a step in the right direction. And I think the things that you're talking about, so you turn your notifications off, you make sure you're getting good quality sleep, you're eating as best you can, you're looking after yourself, you're exercising, whatever that might be. And by the way, exercise can just be a walk.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not exercise, sometimes exercise makes people feel worse. Yeah, Trent, I'm a huge advocate for the exercising and I believe it's important. But also sometimes, we've got so many things to do, it's just another thing to do. For some people.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes you just need to, maybe it's not about being as productive as possible, but just doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's, playing a video game or
listening to some music,
or playing your instrument, whatever it is. And you like playing online poker, go play some online, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Whatever your thing is for a certain amount of time, just to give yourself that little bit of joy, so that at the end of the day you can go, oh, I did all this for everyone else.
Yeah.
But I still found some time for myself.
But it's dedicated time, Nick. I think that's the trick, because, and you would know this as much as anybody. Like you go, I want to dedicate some time. I want to spend some time for myself. And then the weekend comes and you spend Saturday morning finishing up that work that you didn't finish on Friday. Then you spend Saturday afternoon, cleaning up the house or mowing the lawn or whatever. And then Sunday morning you take Eloise to dancing or gymnastics. And then Sunday afternoon you're buggered, right?
Yeah.
And so your chance to do the thing that you really wanted to do. And it's like everything we talk about this with our mastermind clients all the time. Dedicating time. So if you were to lock into your calendar at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon or 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, which is often when the footy's on, that, you're going to take an hour or an hour and a half just to yourself, and that's in your calendar, it's far more likely to happen than if you just sort of start the weekend going, oh, do you know what, I'm definitely going to find some time.
Yeah, 100%. And also, it's the old, don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
The thing, if you tell yourself you're going to do something, I think it's really important that you do it.
Yep.
And that's easier said than done.
Yep.
But if you can try and find that consistency and sticking to, like if you had something locked in your calendar with a client,
yep,
you're going to turn up.
Yeah, 100%.
If you've got a Zoom session with the team, you're going to turn up.
Yeah.
For the time that it's locked in.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to let the other people down.
Correct.
Stop letting yourself down.
Yeah, it's a great point. It is a really, really good point, because that is what you are doing is letting yourself down.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that, to be the best version of yourself, or to be the best leader, to be the best person looking after clients, to be the best family person, like for you, to be the best dad, to be the best brother, best son, best mate, best friend, best business operator, you've actually got to be the best you.
Yeah, 100%. It's the only way that you can give others the best version of yourself, if you are being the best version of yourself, because you can only fake it till you make it for so long. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think we spoke about that in another episode about fake it till you make it, and the stuff out of Ant Middleton's book and why it's sort of nonsense. And I think the other thing too, Nick, is it's talking about getting into a routine. Here's a couple of things that I do to clear my head so that I can be focused on the weekends. So number one is I turn my notifications off. Number two, if anything comes to mind for me, I get it down. I get it out of my head.
Yeah.
Now, whether you write it down, I would send myself probably, 10 to 15 emails on the weekend where I just go, oh, I've got this idea. And so that I'm not thinking about it, and so it's not going through my head. And this actually happened to me last night. I made the mistake of thinking of something before I went to bed, and then like half an hour later, I just quickly grabbed my phone, emailed it off to myself.
Yep.
And then I could get to sleep.
But it's I think that's probably because, your brain is subconsciously going, I need to remember this.
Yes.
I need to remember this because it's important.
Yes.
Or I need to think about this deeper because it's important. But if you write it down or you put it somewhere out of your head, then you go, okay, well, I can deal with it later now.
That's right.
Because it's still there. It's going to be there when I come back.
I mean, years and years ago, I used to keep a notepad and pen next to my bed. I mean, I still do.
Yeah.
But now,
Back in the old days,
it was just like a piece of slate and a chisel, and But nowadays you can just send yourself an email, and you can just use voice to text as well.
Yeah.
So if I think of something, I might just go, hey Siri, send me an email, and then I come in on Monday morning and the email's there.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to offload it somewhere so it's not sitting on your mind the whole time, and that goes back to being present.
Yep.
You can't be present if you've got these million things that are weighing you down. And look, if you're a business owner, you're always going to have things that are weighing you down.
Absolutely.
There's always going to be things on your brain. You cannot avoid that, unfortunately.
100%.
But you've got to be able to get it to a point where it's manageable so that you can be as present, as you possibly can. And, what's the sense of working so hard?
Yeah.
And, and striving for greatness and putting all that effort in if you can't enjoy yourself?
Yeah, that's right.
If you can't spend that time with your kids.
Well, see, that's the thing. Most of the people that we work with, that's what they say. They go, well, hang on, I started this business so I could be the master of my own destiny.
Yeah.
So I could have some freedom. And now all I am is just enslaved to the business. Does that, dear listener, sound does that sound familiar to you? Is this resonating with you? You're going, yep, that's me. So what we're giving you here is just some really very simple things you can do on the weekends. Don't have notifications for your emails. Email yourself anything that comes to mind, even if you send yourself 50 emails. I know it's going to make Monday morning a little bit horrendous, but that's okay. At least it's out of your head and you're getting that harmony back. Set dedicated time to do things. So we have, like next weekend, we're having Eloise, we're taking you to Bluey World. That's all in my calendar. That's dedicated time. So nothing else can get in the way of that.
Yeah. And find what works for you too.
Yeah.
I think, there's obviously different techniques and stuff that everyone uses, and there's going to be all the different, theories and that out there on how to get that, I guess, peace or balance.
Yep.
But, one of the things for me is when I'm spending that time with my kids is I actually just try and put the phone away.
Yeah.
Because even if I'm trying my absolute best, or if I've done everything that I can, I've allocated the time, just having my phone on me is just a complete distraction. I'll notice myself just opening up my work emails.
Yeah.
No reason.
Yeah.
No, like there's nothing
That's
that
just
I need to
habit.
be, and it's
That's habit.
purely just habit. So,
Yep.
if I go for a walk, I've got my watch on me if there's an emergency or something like that.
Yeah.
But, I just don't take my phone. Go for a walk with Eloise, we go to the scooter park or something. I don't need to be looking at my phone. So, yeah, I think that's something that works for me.
Yeah.
So find what works for you.
I think that they are two great pieces of advice. When we run, because part of our mastermind program, we run intensives 3 times a year on the Gold Coast, right? We spend a couple of days, get people together and actually work on a particular aspect of their business. But one of the things we always say at the beginning of that 2 days is, it's not just, because people come in, put their phone on the table, and I go, okay, phones, and you see, and they turn them over. I go, don't turn them over. And they might say, oh, but it's turned off. No. Turn it off, but you have to put it away, because even subconsciously, even if it's turned off, if it's there and present, you're seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's triggering your subconscious to go, oh, I wonder what's going on there.
Got to go check it.
Go check it.
And I think it's just because we're so attached to them.
Yeah, 100%.
We're so attached to the hip of them. They're, almost part of our anatomy now.
Yeah.
That, we can't live without them, sort of thing. It's something that I'm actually trying to work on quite a bit is try and put the phone down a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's like the old, put the pen down.
Yeah.
Think first, have a little bit of think. And sometimes we forget that, we can sit there in our own space and think about things. So even for brainstorming stuff, trying to put the phone away.
Yeah.
Because it just becomes a procrastination, distraction.
It's so easy. Next minute, you're running down some rabbit hole that, I mean,
You just didn't need to go down.
how many cat videos do you need to see, right?
That's right.
But you know what? You've raised another good point. So I'll share with our listeners a couple of little things that I do. So I have no technology after 9 p.m.
Okay.
Right? So I don't get on my phone after 9 p.m. other than to send emails to myself of things that have popped into my head. No technology after 9 p.m. I don't check my emails until 7 a.m. So if I get up at 5:30, I spend the first hour and a half. I hydrate. I might go for a walk. I journal. I think and I plan, but I don't check my emails. And can I tell you why? Because I found that sometimes it was the first thing I'd do.
Yeah.
I'd wake up in the morning. I had a mate years ago who was a smoker, and he used to wake up in the morning, and before he would do anything else, he'd literally, reach across to his bedside table, get his ciggies,
Light one up.
and light one up.
Before he's even sat up.
First thing, get that nicotine rush. First thing, get him going. And what he did to address it was he put his cigarettes on his dresser rather than on his bedside table.
So you had to get up.
So he actually had to get out of bed, right? And right, it was just a little step for him. So I found I was checking my emails first thing in the morning. What's wrong with that, you might say? Well, if I got a shitty email, it just ruined my mood for the morning.
Yeah.
Whereas instead, if I'd got up, I'd hydrated, I'd drunk my half a litre of water, I'd gone for a walk, and I'd done my journaling, and I'd done a bit of thinking and planning, and I just sort of, took in the day and worked out where I was heading. If I then opened it up and it was an email I didn't really like, or the one that gave me the shits or whatever, I was in a better position to cope with it.
Yeah, you're just more equipped to combat something like that, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're in a better headspace, and it almost feels more achievable.
Yeah, well, I found it didn't dictate the day. I sort of look at it and go, well, that's a pain in the ass, but I can deal with that.
Yeah.
Whereas before I'd go, fucking,
Yeah.
email
It's
and-
going to be a shit day now.
yeah, it's going to be a shit day, right? Yeah.
That's the
fucking-
mood that you set in.
Yeah, that's right. So they're all the little things that I think you can do. Let's do a quick recap, because we're talking about How do you get a little bit of harmony back? How do you get things so that when you're at home and you don't have your partner or your kids going at you that, you're not really there. And I think there's a couple of things. Number one, turn your notifications off. 2, have some time without your phone. 3, set some boundaries around your phone. For example, no tech after 9 o'clock, no emails before 7 a.m. Use your emails to send yourself an email of things that are going on in your head, or pen and paper. I mean, I love pen and paper. I love journaling. I just write things out. I have a personal journal. I've got a work journal, and I'll often just write down ideas as they come. The whole idea is just to get them out of the frontal lobe so that they're not sort of, intrusive thoughts. Get some structure to what you're doing. Look after yourself, whatever that means for you.
Yeah.
Right. Look after you. Better sleep, better nutrition, whatever it might be. Like, I'm not here to go, you've got to get 9 hours sleep and you've got to eat, 1,500 calories a day or whatever it might be. I'm not here about that.
No.
I'm just saying, just do what is right for you and get some kind of a routine in place. But I think that's the big thing. You've got to have a routine. If you're going to do things for the family or for yourself, dedicate time to it rather than saying, and you talk about playing instruments, right? You know that I love playing music. And I would often say, I'm going to hit the drum room this weekend. And then come Sunday night, it wouldn't have happened.
Yep.
Whereas if instead I went, do you know what? 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, I'm in the drum room from 2 till 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Then if I can do that, then I'm far more likely that it will actually happen.
Yeah, 100%. And and like we said before, you don't want to disappoint yourself.
No.
But so you sort of, you want to try and find a routine to be able to stick to those sort of things.
Yep.
And one thing I do as well is sometimes had a shit conversation or something, and you get home and the kids are upstairs and you're about to walk into who knows what, right? Yeah, it could be anything. Could be a happy place, could be a complete nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to walk into, it's the unknown. And trying to just drop all that stuff off is really hard.
Yeah.
So sometimes physically I will, drop it off at the front door.
Yeah.
And just leave it before I walk in and try and regather myself before I even take a step through the door. And that's something that works for me. But,
That's great advice.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah, it is. But, sometimes it's a physical manifestation, right? So sometimes just wiping your feet at the door.
Yeah, well, for me, I've got a little bush right at the front door. I should just touch a leaf.
Yep.
And I'll leave it on that leaf.
Yep.
Come pick you up in the morning.
Right, so that's your touchstone. That's your... Yeah, mate, I mean, we've spoken to people about that for many years about wipe your feet at the door or find something you can touch or just to unload whatever's going on for you right now. And so when you do walk through the door, suddenly you're present for Eloise and Connolly and
Because, sometimes it becomes other people's problems, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And your problems become other people's problems.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't want that
No.
as much as you obviously you can't avoid it fully, but if you can...
Yeah, particularly in the home, I think. I mean, sometimes it's necessary in the workplace, but I think in the home especially.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so some great ideas. Because, if you're listening to this now and you're going, I love my business, but it just consumes me. My kids don't know me. My partner doesn't really spend any time with me. But I always say you're going to hang a lamb chop around your neck so the dog doesn't bite you because the dog doesn't know who you are. And these are the little things that you can do, right? And these are incremental things because what happens is you're not going to change this in a heartbeat. But we know that if we follow these things, all of the clients we work with, for example, we can get them back a day a week, personal time, a day a week inside 3 months. And that's not just one day, that's one day every single week. So they're suddenly working only 4 days a week in their business rather than 5. And we know that is 100% achievable if you follow these sorts of little tips. If you want to know more, metropolemastermind.com.au. If you've got some things that you'd love for us to talk about in this podcast, leave some comments on our socials and we'll do our very best until we see you next time. And this is really nice to think about this, considering what we've just spoken about, but please make sure you spend time with those who matter most.